TownHall Heroes. Hello everyone, and welcome to episode number 162 of TownHall Heroes. I'm Solid Jake, we've got Duncan Bakery, and we hear your feedback. A lot of people are saying, guys, you used to have guests all the time. We want them, and they'll be returning next week. And because, honestly, that's something we want to. We want to bring more guests to the show, and I just want to get that on the table right away. It's coming back, and soon, and maybe even later tonight. That's to be determined, but we're trying. It's the off season, but scrims are still going hard for these teams, especially with the PTR up. You know, we had a show just 2 days ago. We're touching up on some of the things we discussed, but man, Dunk, 2 full days have passed. Almost, I mean, that's like 48 hours. What's new? Oh, you're muted. That's what's new.
Off in the last 48 hours, you have no idea.
You're good. You're good. Yeah, we hear you.
No, I was just not talking because I was memeing that nothing has happened in the last 48 hours except for the hot fix and a couple roster updates that I'm sure we'll talk about in a second.
Yeah.
See, I actually saw on Reddit, Dunk, that you're coming out of retirement.
I did see that thread, and I didn't click on it.
Yeah, well, you missed out on some pretty dank Zul'jin memes, Jake. You definitely missed out.
Dunk Train, he did some like shady things. He went behind the scenes and he spoke to Blizzard and he got them to agree to anytime Zul'jin is picked, any team actually can sub Dunk Train in.
That's the way it should be.
Easy.
That's
the truest one trick there ever was.
Any region too. It doesn't matter that Dunk's American. He can go play for a Chinese team.
Absolutely.
They're the only region that'll actually draft Zul'jin. But who knows? Bakery, has anything changed in your life in the last 2 days?
Not really, to be honest. Still working. I'm a lot less tired in this session. I was in the last episode, so that's good news. But yeah, just working through. Still doing a lot of setup work to try and figure out where I'm heading within this next year. But I'm getting a lot closer, actually. I feel like I'm almost there now, so I'm looking forward to it.
Damn, this guy moves fast. Making those moves, figuring it out. Clearly, he's going to be a professional commentator full time. It's the only possible route. You're entirely a commentator. This is a fact. He defined this
again
just 2 days ago. Yeah, man. Well, I mean, honestly, we can just jump right into it because there's been a bit of news. As we said, the roster lock period for HGC is now closed, right? You have to have told Blizzard your official roster. Doesn't mean that we know what the rosters are because Blizzard then has to verify. That could take a week or whatever. And, you know, people are already saying it in chat. Udall, who announced he was retiring about probably less than an hour ago, he put out a little video, which I will queue up here for you guys without sound, even though if you haven't seen it and you're listening and you're not going to get to look at it, go to Michael Udall's Twitter to check this out for yourself. He is at Michael_Udall, if I'm not mistaken, and check out the video because I thought it was perfectly done. It's a 1 minute little piece that I promised you I wouldn't play the audio for. I mean, I think a lot of people behind the scenes kind of knew this was happening. Michael was going to be sticking around even after saying he was done. And I think there's a lot of variables that go into the mix. Like maybe Michael wasn't happy with the people he was playing with. Maybe he was just feeling really burnt out and made a snap decision to retire, but then immediately regretted it after assessing the situation. You could look at it in a lot of different ways. I don't know the real story. I'm just excited that Michael's going to continue playing in the scene with Gale Force, as we will see in this video.
Yeah, the video was pretty dank. Like without the audio, you don't get it, but like he's like narrating how many tournaments he's gone to and how many wins he has or whatever, and then he's like, "And you thought I was done." It was actually, that part was really well done.
I quite enjoyed it. I did think the explosion over
Yeah.
he's back was a bit too far for me, but then the ending kind of made up for it with the Gale Force logo.
The suspension of disbelief got ruined at the explosion with the he's back, I gotta be honest. But other than that, it was decent.
He's back. I mean, if it was him returning after like taking a year off, the he's back definitely seems a lot more appropriate. But to like literally have just been supposedly not returning and like never missed an actual HGC League game to be like he's back does seem to be overselling a bit, but whatever. It's hype, it's cool, it's good stuff, and it was definitely a good like re-announcement. Calaris is teasing in chat that actually tomorrow he's going to announce he's retiring. Thanks for the intel, Calaris. That is some good stuff.
He's gonna like keep spacing them like further and further apart, you know. So what he's done now is he's gonna retire and like at the end of phase 1, and then he's going to unretire at the start of 2018, and then he's going to retire for like a full year, and he's gradually going to work his way up to actually full retirement, you know.
I'm putting Claris on the chopping block. Don't know what your personal situation is right now, homie, but you're there. If you want to join us, hop on the call. And that might be the future way we do things. I'm going to be way more open to it. Honestly, there's a lot of good feedback this week on Reddit regarding the show. And, you know, I've had this very specific like mentality where if they're not on the show, we're not going to bring someone to mid-show. Why? It's a live show. If we can pull people into the conversation, we're going to be a lot more open with doing that with players, personalities, and all the likes in the future. And I think that's going to be really fun. Getting players and stuff to commit to a 2-hour show has been extremely difficult. I'm not going to lie. I've reached out. I've been trying to do that. And a lot of people are busy or scrimming. But if they can hop in between games and stuff, yeah, Reddit can have some valid feedback, even if there are some goobers on there. And you know who you are, goobers. But that's fine. That's fine. Roster updates. Let's. I mean, we're in the middle of that segment already talking about Udall. But outside of Udall, I don't think there's any episode or updates for North America.
North America has been very secretive this entire time.
Super secretive.
And not very many leaks either, whereas in the EU scene, things changed a bit there. I think looking at NA, there was one tweet from King Calf, I believe, which was something like announcement of an announcement. And
Smiley
he changed
face. Smiley face.
He changed his Twitter description to be Warrior for Blizz Heroes or Warrior of Blizz Heroes, and doesn't list Gale Force in his Twitter description. I think that's potentially interesting, but outside of that, not much going on. And of course, as we have seen with the classic ZE Swimpy. People do like to troll in this roster period.
Yeah, actually, Project X Run, who's he posted in one of my Discord chats we have, and he posted this exact image, which I will have to save to my PC because I can't drag it from here. I can do it this way. Basically, again, what you're talking about with Shrimpy, where it says ZE Shrimpy in Hero League, and a lot of people like him are just like, he's on Zealots. And actually our graphic from Monday's show actually showed Shrimpy in red on the Zealots roster, but clearly that is not accurate. Dunk, I messed up your cam. Can you +1 again? You were already there before. I ruined it.
Oh my god, you ruined it. Jake!
Do it. I'm waiting.
This has completely ruined my suspension of disbelief. I fully believed that Dunk Train was in space. But then I saw his room, like, either side of the space. So
Dunk, that face you just made, if it's not an emote, it needs to be an emote, because glorious. Well, Shrimpy is actually one of the members that's kind of in limbo. But we'll get to Europe in a moment here. This is what we know about North America. It's only slightly updated with basically Michael Udall rejoining GFE. You can see the teams that have like the blue background with them. Those are final. Freedom, Heroes Earth, Roll20, Temple Storm. Those have all had actual announcements from the team stating that that is final. But King Caffeine, I guess he needs to be deleted from this list, right? If his saying announcement of an announcement in his Twitter update info has been updated we have to assume he's gone. So let's just go into the assumption that K1 Pro and King Caffeine are a package because they have been together.
I think that's a safe assumption, personally.
Like, they're a package deal. They both live in the same region. I mean, let's just look at that. Let's just assume it's Akka and Udall. 2 members need to be retained on each team in order to be eligible. So it almost seems like Udall came back to the team to keep that team even eligible to maintain a spot in HGC 2018. From there, when it comes to the open slots they need to fill, Fury makes perfect sense to be the tank on that team. Cawthon makes a lot of sense to be like
Fury back to GFE.
Isn't that hilarious though? Like,
I wonder if he'd be willing to do that. Like,
honestly, I think it's too insane. Like, I think that would be like Wubby rejoining Team Dignitas or something,
Oh wait
wait a second.
And if you guys don't remember that, it wasn't the most graceful roster change that ever happened in the past.
The Fury thing, yeah.
Fury, GFE, and Wubby Dignitas, like
the Wubby Dignitas thing was fine,
but I felt like the Wubby Dignitas one was fine, right? Okay, well, you get kicked, you're still not going to feel good about it, right?
That's
like,
true.
At the end of the day, you get kicked from a team, you're going to be a little salty. And Wubby got kicked. He didn't choose to leave. He didn't get picked up. He got kicked. And that's also true for Fury. And I think Fury's really good. So this is kind of like what I'm thinking for GFE, but that's not a 5-man squad. Do you guys have any other ideas? Or if you know for sure, then obviously just be quiet. But
I have to skip out on that one.
All right, you guys are more in the know than me. That's fine.
The interesting thing for me is going to be what happens to Lageth players. So we know for a fact that Sway had issues in Superstars and possibly Airho as well.
Yeah.
We know that there were rumors of Equinox retiring.
Yeah.
So potentially, Space Station and Superstars and GFE could all be with 2 members right now.
Well, not anymore because they had to have submitted those by now. So that decision, that the window in which they had time to decide this has obviously been, a cluster. If I swear, YouTube will unmonetize my videos. So I'm going to go from now on to make sure that the robots don't know what I'm saying. But I think it's... we might end up with some pretty suboptimal rosters as a result because this window and the level of the number of changes we're seeing here is it unheard of?
Huge.
Like,
I would say so.
Probably the largest roster in NA specifically.
I mean, we're seeing basically like almost every roster has had at least 2 changes, like not including the people that came from Crucible, and pretty sure Blizzard's intentions with the changes to the HGC roster format and stuff, like the release period and the acquisition period, like it was hopefully going to keep things more stable, but we can see that was clearly not the case. And I'm not sure that even worked. Like, it didn't even work. People were probably dropping their teams after that period and stuff. Like, it's just been pretty silly. People making crazy roster changes.
It's crazy. And, Bakery brought up the point, what's going to happen to Lageth? As far as we know, Lageth's dead, right? I mean, I think that's
that's the operating assumption right now.
Yeah. It's all but confirmed that imported support is going to be the 8th slot here. I was ready to update the graphic to represent that, but I figured I should respect the fact that there has been no announcement yet. But let's be real. It looks like imported and Heroes are going to both be new blood joining here, the North American side, which is really good in my opinion. But where do these players land? And people have been saying Zuna retire, right? Let's detective this up. This is some genius work right here. Ready? Twitter, Zuna. He doesn't tweet that much, right? He's tweeting about some stuff about the during the Crucible. We did it. Yay. Survived. Then he's got some Bud Light obligations where he streams with them. Cool. YouTube, don't demonetize me for saying Bud Light because I know it's made of alcohol, but it's cool, YouTube. It's going to be all right. And then, we didn't even talk about this. All right. Segue into Naventics talk. Apparently, the organization owes the team $50,000. I completely forgot we have not mentioned that on the show yet.
So, yeah. So knowing something weird was going on behind the scenes. This was actually something that was really frustrating for me to see the team basically crumble under the weight of like out of game issues that were no fault of their own as far as we can tell. And like really struggle to get through, and then see so much like hate and so much like, I always knew they were trash. Like even when they were winning tournaments, I knew they were trash. Like just to see that was so frustrating. Like from a player's perspective, like because clearly like they were dealing with like some tough stuff. Like,
and they're in a situation oftentimes where like their contract abides them to play and maintain that brand for the team. The moment that they go on and like abandon that, they basically lose hope of ever winning a case of getting that money. Like honestly, the situation they're in, it makes the most sense to keep representing Niantic, even whether or not they're getting paid, in hopes of eventually getting paid, right? You don't want to burn that bridge. And unfortunately, now that the contract's ended and all that stuff, it's just like they're probably never going to see that money, and that's horrible. Like,
so, and then the other thing is, I'm afraid I cannot share what team this is, but the Niantic organization, after Lagef left the organization, instantly, like same day, approached different teams and gave them like really like strong offers and wanted to get contracts signed like within the next 2 days. So yeah, they were really trying to abuse players.
That's
and
so
teams.
grimy, dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just to, you know, bring this up, I see people are talking about playing ducks, or I guess, you know, it happens.
Playing ducks also.
Yeah.
Screwed over Diamond Skin. Just didn't pay them.
It's actually, unfortunately, very common in esports in general. Notably in the games that have a little bit of the lesser big names, right? These tend to be younger orgs that want to try to advance quickly, so they target games like Heroes that don't have like a huge barrier of entry with like all the big orgs involved, where they hope they can build a fan base. I think Gale Force is probably one of the bigger orgs you can look at and be like, cool, these guys really kind of launched their brand a lot through Heroes, and they've expanded a lot.
They have the world's best Rocket League team, and the finals was viewed by like 170,000 people, like 180,000 people, or something like that. It's
amazing, and their brand is only done amazing things. Honestly, I think Gale Force is great, and Heroes is taking that same path. But yeah, Niantic is a bad example of that. They will cheat people out of money. They'll be dishonest, and they will bear that dirt until they pay their players on the team, and I just hope that happens, because I hear the people that run the org are you know, not ill-intending people. I can't claim I've ever met them, but you know, it's definitely a sad thing to see the Niantic guys being owed that much money. But continuing on to my stupid Twitter analysis of Zuna's Twitter is that he very rarely tweets, but he did tweet twice this week, and about Heroes. And what I'm trying to say is, I don't think he's retiring. If he's actually actively playing the game and talking about it, usually if you're intending on retiring, you're going to take a break from the game at the very least, right? You step away.
Detective Jake, man.
Yeah,
wow.
You get away from it, and he wouldn't be talking about it. So people in chat on Monday were saying Zuna's got to be retiring. Zuna's got to be retiring. Well, I don't think so. Guy's got talent, and he'll get a team easy. I think he'll thrive actually on a different team, and I cannot wait to see what team he ends up on. He's probably on Superstars. I don't know if I'd say that. That seems like a bold guess, Twitch chat.
The Space Station, the Superstars, there's honestly even GFE, although I think that's the least likely one. I think the least likely is on GFE, yeah.
Huh.
Because obviously there's the classic GFE Niantic beef between Yudao and Zuna. Like,
people get over beef.
Although I'm sure they're friends, I'm not sure those two would be on a team. Like,
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Cool. Well, I think that's what we've got for the North American update, unless we've got any NA pros in the chat that want to hop on the call to talk about it. We do have a few guests that are just about confirmed for next week. Just to give you guys an update as to what we're expecting for the show. I think we're going to have the coach and analyst of Tempo Storm, Kala, joining us next week's episode, permitting his schedule, but he already said he wants to do it. He just hasn't given me 100%. So that should be really good for the NA discussion to wrap things up, because I assume we'll know every single player.
I sure hope so.
Or yeah, on every team. And then I actually reached out to Collusion because I want to hear his thoughts on their new squad with Team Freedom in particular, and a lot of these other changes as well. So Collusion is confirmed for next week for the show. He couldn't do this week because I think he was screaming. The reason there's no Glau, you guys are asking why no Glau or Roll20 or whatever. The Roll20 is actually going to GCWC, and I was still under the impression that Glau was on Roll20 and not going to be around. I assume the Roll20 squad that's going to China is Justin Bud's Kira Goku Dansky. But
yes.
That's what's going on here. But yes, Michael Udall did unretire as of about an hour ago. If you're just getting this news, guys, Aka, K1, Caffeine. We don't know if that's. We don't know if this is the final roster. In fact, we discussed that K1 and Caffeine are likely not on that GFE roster. But again, there's no official word in that market. Guys, have any final points for NA?
I think generally, Tempo Storm's the roster that I'm going to be watching out for. Like, sure, Roll20 is they look strong, but to me, I think Glau was a pretty integral part of the team, even though we know they had a lot of internal issues with that whole setup. But right. I think he was a real integral part of the team, and I don't think they'll be at the same level without him. I think Freedom also lost Cure and Densky, which was pretty big for them. Lieutenant and Yoda, both solid players, but nothing special. Not top tier, I would say. And Tempo Storm, it's a risky roster. It's a risky roster for sure. So
everyone says too many cooks in the kitchen, too many cooks. And if I didn't see a lot of change out of Glau's play style, over the last phase, I would agree with you. But seeing Glau adapt the way he has, and play less of the hard carry, more more full flex kind of style, I think I've got a lot more confidence in that squad. And I think I'm actually personally super excited about Cattle back on tank. While we are in NA, we do have Vinthors in Twitch chat, who is, as far as Twitch chat goes, actually pretty credible when it comes to his statements. And he says the full GFE roster, I lost it already, but I think he said Aka, Udall, B-Kid, Big E, and I think it was Fury as the last one that he mentioned. I completely lost the...
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah. So if that's true, that means Cawthon would probably go to Superstars, because he was on really good terms with Iacona back when they played together, if I remember correctly. So I could see that happening. And then Space Station seems like a likely location for Zuna to end up. So, very interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of scrambling that still has to happen.
Yeah.
For this.
Panda Global, rest in pieces. Okay, so let's take a look at the other side of the coin, being Europe. And Europe is way more info. Today we got a few more rosters announced. The teams we already had confirmed that we're not going to really discuss right now necessarily: Fnatic, Dignitas, Liquid, and Leftovers, because Leftovers did come from Open Division. The teams we still know very little about, and now actually know technically less, Team Expert and then Diamond Skin, because Expert, as far as we knew, still had ADRD. But ADRD has been confirmed as part of the new Zealots roster. It says new because this is new info versus what we knew on Monday. So the squad for Zealots will be Zarmony, Mopsio, Shad, ADRD, and Chris Bakery. What do you think?
So looking at Zealots, they actually side graded pretty hard, surprisingly. And obviously, if you remember their form at the end of the season in playoffs, honestly, Zealots maybe even upgraded.
Really? So
Maybe.
this is an open division team
It's tough. Yeah.
going into phase 2 that makes it all the way to 4th place from their first run in the pro season. And now they've managed to pick up ADRD and Chris, 2 very seasoned players in the scene. And not that Zarmany, Mopsy, and Chad aren't. This is a super experienced team. ADRD always brings a different flavor to Styles, for sure, just because he's the mad scientist. Where does this put Expert? Like, because that's kind of... Expert's always been like that number 3, right? You know, kind of like sitting 3, Liquid 3. Like, it's been a toss-up between them for quite a while, it felt. And now Zealots suddenly is looking pretty good for that spot.
So the thing about Zealots is they lost Poyok, which is huge. I think Poyok's one of the best players in the league. And they lost Grandpa Cat, who, again, is a strong support player. Previously the best support in the world, you could quite easily argue. But ADRD and Chris is a good pickup, dude. I personally expect Zealots to be battling for that 4th spot with Team Liquid. And whoever wins out of those 2 has a chance to go over Expert. I think Expert have a chance to go over Fnatic. And I think Dignitas right now is sitting pretty comfortably on top.
You think Expert could get stronger depending on who they pick up?
Shrimpy's still open, right? Shrimpy seems like a pretty likely candidate for that team, right?
So here's what we know. We know Arcana is going to a team. Now it could be Diamond Skin, but it could be Expert. We know Swimpy is going to a team. It could be Expert, it could be Diamond Skin. If they get Arcana Swimpy, then Expert is like 2nd or 3rd place, maybe 4th.
Interesting.
If they underperform.
I mean, okay, yeah, sure.
I think Swimpy's an upgrade. I think Arcana's an upgrade.
Do you think they... I don't know who was doing the drafting or the shot calling for Expert. I mean, everyone assumed it was ADRD drafting strategy stuff, but like, is that going to be a concern?
So ADRD was doing drafting, at least some of it, but Bad Benny was probably their main strategic guy, I would say, by the end. He was doing the shot calling as well. They have a Thero, who for a long time in 2016 was one of the most respected shot callers and drafters.
He was new blood too, which was the crazy part.
He was new blood in 2015. In 2016,
the end of 2015, he was new. Okay. By the end of 2016.
Yeah. So I think they definitely took a hit, but I don't think Athero is going to be lost. Like we maybe saw in some other teams in HCC this year.
Yeah.
Interesting.
No, I think that's going to be really interesting if they get landed with either Shrimpy or Arcana. I think those are both like really big plays. And chat saying, is Arcana really that good? You got to look at a player skill level, and then you got to compare it to their average level of practice in their region. And the fact of the matter is ANZ, they're at a deficit on average just because the amount of teams they have to actively scrim with and super serious scrims to work things out is infinite lower. It's not even about individual skill. It's about the atmosphere and the opportunity to differentiate and play against different styles and all of that. And Arcana has continued to prove that the lack of that constant practice with all those different styles doesn't matter for him. The guy's just gifted. He's very good at the game, and I think he's going to get even better. So, official esports player, Arcane 8.
The thing to remember about Arcana is that he actually grinds all day. Like, literally all day, all night. Like, the amount of games he plays is really insane. And he plays well in those games, which is why he's gained so much respect from most people in the European HCC scene.
That's cool. That's really cool. And it's awesome to see him quickly get a team like that when making a move. King Caffeine popped in the chat and said, what the hell, Jake spying on lobbies? And I'm not actually going to spy on this lobby. This says rebooting Skype. That's wrong. But BBJ invited me to a lobby on the PTR. And if I was to join that lobby, we could spy. But we're going to be good Samaritans and not do that. Because I guess that's probably 2 of the new rosters. Heroes Hearth being BBJ's team versus one of these other squads playing in a PTR game on all the new changes. And just the thought that that's happening right now is actually really exciting to me. Otherwise, I would have tried to drag Caffeine in the call right now if I didn't know he was streaming like a good adult. But cool.
So the other new thing is Twix. So Nape, it came out. Looks like he's not actually in a HGC team for the 2018 season, which is slightly surprising, honestly. Like, people were saying, like, Nape 4th place, like in Europe, you know, you have Splendor, you have Bakery, you have SMX, like behind that, like Cursor and Grandpa get Nape, like, and he's apparently not in the HGC. Getting replaced, of course, on Twix by Grandpa Cat, coming from Zealots.
I was interested by the trick announcement. You asked, we listened as their title. It's like, you asked us to slay Nape? Like, you just said, get him off the team! Get him off! We don't want him! Like, is that what the fans were shouting to you? Because I don't know if that's accurate, but I love Grandpa Cat Day, and I think it's, you know, I'm glad he found a home, for sure, after he was with, Zealots, right? Or Diamond Skin? I'm so, like, confused by the Playing Ducks being gone and Wish being gone. Where was he before Bakery? Grandpa Kete?
Zealots.
Zealots, okay. I was right. Yeah, so those are the 2 new teams that are confirmed, though. This is the Tricked roster: Grandpa Kete, Alex the Pro G, Crosby, Rummer Baller, and Make, announced by Tricked as an organization, not confirmed and finalized by Blizzard. Zealots also announced as an organization: Zarmany, Mopsio, Shad, ADRD, and Chris. And again, none of these have officially been announced by the HGC
League. I think those 2 were actually confirmed by Blizzard.
Okay, well, I'm until their website is like...
Liquid, Tricked, Zealots, Team Dignitas, Fnatic have all been approved by Blizzard.
I assume they have been, but we can assume all day. Until the HGC website is like updated to 2018 with all the squads, I'm going to take everything as there's 90% chance, but not 100% chance kind of deal, right? Because
I think that's fair.
There could always be something that happens. We just don't know all the rulings and various weird rules that may exist. But so, yeah, I think this is exciting though. But do you want to take any stabs, Dunk, a Diamond Skin and Expert, or are you just? Yeah, I mean, I assume Bakery.
EU teams, LUL.
LUL.
Wow.
I'm just blaming. No, I have no idea, honestly, where they're going to end up.
I mean, so the other thing to remember is the high-profile names flying around right now. There's Glumby, Darkmuck, Swimpy, Arcana. Gunape, who could be on Diamond Skin if Wolf Jovo swaps, but not looking likely.
Well, time will tell. I'm sure we'll know very soon the state of the final 2 teams in Europe. And if you missed our discussion on the NA teams, it looks like that. 4 teams still up in the air. Really 3. It should be imported support in that last spot. But yeah, that's the roster update. I mean, we had a show 2 days ago, so there's not a ton that we need to dive into. That's still a fair bit of updates. And as I mentioned, in the event that Michael Udall is available, I don't even think I said Michael Udall's name before, but I did now. We're going to try to get him on for a quick call on the show tonight, pending his availability, because he is in the middle of scrims tonight. These guys are they're not taking this as the off season. They're still practicing. You know, they might have took a week off or something, but that's it. But yeah, we don't typically cover Korea and China. And, you know, I think I've said this before on the show. I don't follow those regions. I you know, as much. Personally, that's a segment someone else would have to spearhead because, I mean, frankly, like I don't have the time of the day to.
So here's the thing: is I do follow those regions. I love watching Korea, China not so much, but I do tune in every now and then. The weird thing actually is there's no information at all as far as we know. It's just nothing's come out of Korea and China to the English-speaking audience.
Well, no news then. We can say that MVP Black is now KSV Black. We know that because the organization got picked up by like Korean Silicon Valley or whatever KSV is. So they are technically just the same org though. Beyond that, I think that ANZ team, Dark Matter? What's their name?
Dark-Sided announced that 4 of their players are leaving, going into the 2018 season.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh my! Arcana has played 824 games this season.
That is quite a few. I haven't even played that many.
That's alongside scrimming, we believe.
Got him. But yeah, it's four members gone like that is definitely a sign of big change, I guess, right? I mean, ANZ is going to be an interesting state with Arcana and Robodoba dipping.
So I think they said they want to reform their roster, like going into 2018. But right now they said disband that team. You're free. And they're keeping 2 players, a manager and Hacky, I think it was, to rebuild a new roster, basically.
Go full Zoya on the changes, guys. I don't even know what that means. But yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any reason for me to like go full Zoya and shit talk and rage on these teams because let's be frank, we don't know what they're capable of. We don't know how good or bad their personalities are going to mesh when it comes down to it. We've already talked about Tempo Storm saying, yes, this does feel like there could be too many cooks in the kitchen, but I mean, I think Bakery said he thinks that's a dream team. He thinks it's the team that's gonna his team to watch in North America. Cure is obviously a newer player. He's only been part of HGC since Phase 2, and Cure has proven that he's very talented. Everyone was saying he was overrated when he entered the HGC season, and he's not. I mean, straight up. And Cure, Goku, Dainsky with the foundation of Justing Buds seems like a pretty good team to me. And the new GFE, we still don't know who they are. I mean, those are like kind of the 3 brands that are dominant, at least as like the most favorited teams overall, as far as I can tell. But Freedom is the other squad that's looking out for. And I cast Open Division. I watched Lutano all last year in Open Division, and he was my #1 player from all of Open Division last year, right? The guy is good. The guy is very good. And I think, this squad with Yoda, I mean, Yoda has straight carried teams in the past, right? Back on Roll20, like, Yoda was really quite good at the game. And when they made that swap for Yoda and Goku, I was even surprised because I was like, wait, really? Like, Goku's good, but Yoda is a very talented player. So I don't have anyone to shit on, right? No one. I can't go full Zoya because full Zoya is shitting on people. Yoda did not retire. He unretired an hour ago. Bam, you're up to date in North America.
Classic unretire. Nobody saw it coming.
But Lauber, we got to have you on the show too. So many people to have on the show. But yeah, man, it's time to move on to the GCWC preview, which is starting in 5 days. I think everybody's probably flying out there this week. Maybe some people are trying to wait till after Thanksgiving. I don't know everyone's plans, but there's only one American team, so that's really not that much of an issue for the average player in this tournament. The teams announced to be partaking in HGWC or HCWC is a Super Perfect Team from China, CE, also China, Beyond the Game, China. Then Fnatic and Dignitas will represent Europe. We've got Ballistics and KSV Black, which used to be MVP Black for Korea, in Roll20, representing North America.
This tournament's actually going to be awesome. Like, GCWC is always great because it's the only tournaments we can actually see Chinese teams at full power, like against international opponents. We're going to get to see how the new rosters start, like Fnatic, Dig, Roll20, I assume all new rosters will be there. So we'll get to see how they fare against Ballistics and
good news,
KSV.
everyone, by the way. Every European player got their Chinese visa approved, which does mean we'll be seeing the 5 new members of Fnatic and Dignitas at the Gold Club World Championship.
That's great, actually. That's good news.
That's sweet. So we'll actually get to see how these teams do. What do you predict for Fnatic and Dig at GCWC? You think fresh roster is going to be honeymoon phase? They're going to play well? Are they going to be too fresh together? They won't have synergy? What's the thoughts?
Okay, so my initial thinking is that Team Dignitas is going to have like a mega like honeymoon phase. I think all 5 players are super excited about this roster. They're super excited about the potential and what they can do. So I think they're going to honeymoon phase super hard during this tournament and just ride that all the way through. So I'm expecting them to do really well. I'm expecting finals from Team Dignitas. Fnatic, I think, is going to be a team that takes... Yeah. Fnatic's a team that I think is going to take a bit longer to get going. So I expect them to get a very comfortable semifinals against Roll20 and the rest of the Chinese teams. But I don't think they'll be able to beat Ballistics, KSV, or Team Dignitas. Unless they play Team Dignitas in the semifinals, in which case I think it's going to be this huge upset where Fnatic actually take it for no discernible reason. And I think Ballistics is going to be about where they were at BlizzCon, which is definitely nothing special, but a solid team. And they underperformed very hard on stage at BlizzCon against both Roll20 and Fnatic. So I'd expect them to be a bit stronger, at least, on stage.
You don't think...
And I think KSV Black's not going to drop a game.
Yeah, I think KSV Black is, like, assuming no roster changes that we haven't heard about yet, like, they're probably going to crush again. But you don't think the Chinese teams on home turf are even going to threaten Digger Fnatic?
Honestly, I think they're a threat, but I don't think they can win.
Okay. I think that's reasonable. Roll20, bottom 4, top 4. I mean, I think Roll20 is going to be fresh. I would find it hard to believe that they crack top 4, though.
I don't think they'll make top 4.
I don't either.
I think 5th is a pretty decent prediction for them.
Okay.
So ahead of the 3 Chinese teams.
I think I don't know. You know better than I, but I think you got to give the Chinese teams more credit when they're at full power on their home turf.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, man. I don't think the Chinese, like, even if I agree that their scene has been kind of clown fiesta last split, like, on home turf, I don't think there's ever been a time where at least one Chinese team wasn't really showing up, you know?
Like, will they all show up? I doubt it. But will one of the 3? I hope so. And I think they will.
All right. Well, we have Bakery's predictions. It's interesting. No faith in the Chinese squads.
We'll see. But this all starts next week, guys. The 27th. You know, obviously we'll cover it because it's going on for 2 weeks straight. Dunk, you actually got to cast one of the GCWCs. I think it was last year. You're not casting this year, or you can't say if you are, right?
I am not, but the casters have been announced.
Oh, they were announced in China, but I didn't know. What? Yeah, go ahead.
It's, if I remember correctly, it's Grubby, Gilly, Dread, Kaldor?
Yeah,
I think was the announcement.
That's correct. So I believe the initial plan was to have the 4 HGC casters, and they were offered. I believe Trixler turned it down. That's not official. That's just my interpretation. And then, of course, Grubby is an absolute legend in the Chinese scene. Yeah. At one point, Grubby was in the top 10 most Googled or most searched people in China, or something insane like that.
And if you are wondering why that is, it's actually because the way that StarCraft Brood War was in Korea was Warcraft 3 in China. It was huge, and Grubby is, you know, probably the most famous player of all time in that game. So, yeah, no, that's gonna be fun for him because I've heard some stories where he had to climb out windows to get away from the hordes of fans. It's like not even joking. Like him and Todd had to run and climb through like a window and like rush out the back to just like get to their hotel room so they could rest because they were jet lagged and there were just so many fans. He had to retreat. So that's going to be a blast for him, I'm sure, because, well, that's just crazy. Yeah, I mean, obviously GCWC 2-week event, amazing format as Dunk was saying, just, you know, that you get to get the best of the best truly trying each other out. No best of threes in the top 8. Shots fired. But yeah, it'll be good stuff for sure. Yeah. After that, gameplay changes is a topic that we kind of said we were going to touch on more, but the fact of the matter is we simply haven't really been able to dive in and accurately gauge how everything feels yet. We touched on it a bit on our last show. If we talked about like the globe changes and our initial impressions of everything. So we're actually not even really going to go into it again tonight. I'm just going to say I'm loving it, and I'm actually avoiding the live server until I have my camera changes and my laning changes on the actual live server, because it really does feel that much better. Definitely look forward to future episodes where we dive into that more, and we're going to make sure that we have other players and guests to discuss their opinions, especially with a lot of these HGC teams scrimming, as we saw on the PTR as I looked at the game earlier. They're scrimming on it. They're going to have the real intel and real feedback that's going to be interesting for us to talk about the gameplay changes. So that's why we kind of last minute decided, you know what, let's just hold off. We'll come back to this. But
the one thing we did say we'd talk about is performance-based matchmaking, which we did not cover in last week's show.
You're right.
We honestly, we haven't really got the chance to test it on PTR, because obviously,
I mean, you can't
queue Hero League.
You can't. Yeah, that's not a thing.
Yeah.
But we can talk about the concepts and concerns, and also things that we think is really good about the system. So, I'd say, Dunk, would you like to start off?
Yeah, so to start, I'll just give an overview of what performance-based matchmaking means. The first thing that you should understand is your matchmaking rating is not explicitly your rank. Those two things are different. So the fact that you are in silver does not mean that your matchmaking is precisely at the same point where you belong in silver, although your rank is based on your MMR. And the reason this is important to understand is because when those two systems are split apart, it kind of changes how you have to look at some of these things. The way MMR currently works is its only wins and losses are taken into account. And the more likely you were to win a game, the fewer points you win when you win, or the more points you lose when you lose. And this is consistent across pretty much all matchmaking rating systems, all the way back to when the first ELO system was designed for chess. It's basically a mathematical interpretation of how likely a given player or team is to win against another team. Now, performance-based matchmaking is Blizzard's attempt to improve the matchmaker based on player feedback, where instead of only wins and loss being accounted for in how many MMR points you gain and or lose, they're also going to take in-game performance statistics and adjust potential MMR gains and losses. Meaning if you play out of your mind in a game, according to the performance-based matchmaking system, and you win, you will win more points. If you play out of your mind well, but you still lose, you just couldn't quite carry your team, you will lose fewer points.
Jake has a question.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
So if I play Nazebo and I just play hyper safe and I get the most soak and I just never die and the game gives me MVP, does that mean my MMR goes up whether or not I win or lose?
Okay, hang on. I can answer this. So this is a huge concern. Whenever you approach the issue of a matchmaking system that rewards stats and cannot truly determine if you helped your team, it's a major concern. But that passive style of playing Nazebo and just never dying, I would say is definitely not the optimal style.
Of course.
Obviously.
Yeah.
But this entire system was built in retrospect. They can already see the stats of the players that win more and the players that have been promoted already.
Right.
They can go back in time, look at those games, look at those stats, look at those builds,
Yeah.
and see absolutely everything about that person, and then build a system retrofitted onto that game. And then they keep adding game after game after game, and work out what makes a good Nazebo player. And those are the stats that it will then take and reward. So low deaths, high siege damage, high XP, those things are always going to be valuable. And they're always going to be counted. But if a good Nazebo player, if the differentiating factor between a good Nazebo player when playing Q build is how many spiders did he hit, then that will be a very highly weighted stat in the performance-based matchmaking rating, which is why this system is much less susceptible to abuse than you would initially think.
And to be fair, guys, I'm playing devil's advocate. God. Just want to get all sides of the coin here, because this is actually such a huge change for the game. Like, this is a big update. People are always asking for, you know, better MMR, better matchmaking, whatever. And I think, honestly, the only thing I could ask for more here that I don't think we're getting is an actual visible MMR, which is something that Blizzard has been quite reluctant to ever get. I think, does StarCraft have it now? They might. I think.
So Travis McGathy is the lead game designer on Heroes of the Storm, and every time he's asked about this in an interview, he says, "This is something I want to get into the game, but it's not a simple task, and it would actively mean that we are taking resources away from projects like this, which legitimately will improve the experience.
Right.
Whereas showing MMR will improve the perception for a small number of players."
Right.
So that's why it's not in. It's because maybe in some systems it's very easy to say, let's show MMR, but in the way that Blizzard does it and the way that Blizzard stores it on servers and stuff like this, it's not an easy task.
You're talking about paying UI people, engineers.
Yeah.
It's a cost, it's a time-consuming thing, and those resources, like you said, better spent elsewhere. Cool. Continuing? And there's more to it, right?
No? I mean, that's like the core of the system.
Right, but in terms
I think
of
pretty
like,
much explained.
Okay, so I mean,
how is this gonna impact people's gameplay in games? That's where I think it gets interesting. So Baker, you sound like you're really in favor of performance-based matchmaking rating.
Yes, I am.
Okay, can you explain why you think it's a good thing for the game, and what do you think the benefits will be for the player base?
So the big thing we are looking at when looking at matchmaking in Heroes of the Storm, people do not complain, I think this game was uneven. People complain, there are terrible players in this game. That's the most common complaint. And there is the fringe case where you queue up as a Grandmaster and you get some Platinums in your game, but that is definitely a fringe case. That is 1 in every 30 games, maybe. Would you agree, Dunk?
For NA Grandmasters, I would say it's more likely than that, but if you're looking at it from a perspective of the whole player base, it's an almost trivial number of games compromised in that manner, so it's not worth considering.
Okay. But the main complaint around matchmaking is that the players in the game are just not up to scratch.
Okay.
And the reason for that is it's very easy in Heroes of the Storm to get lucky in your 10 placement games, or to get a lucky streak, or to get an unlucky streak even, and just have players ending up kind of all over the place and not where they should be. Now, in other games like League of Legends, there is a built-in system that prevents people from getting too low or too high from their skill level. And that system is laning. So if you are a bronze player, okay, but you had really lucky quick matches, or you always queued duo queue with a Grandmaster player, so you got a really high quick match rating, you go into ranks. In League of Legends, you will get absolutely smashed in lane. You will feed your enemy opponent. That enemy opponent will then snowball the game most of the time and make you lose. Like your whole team lost the game because you just fed someone, and that's how people in League of Legends like stay where they should be. Heroes doesn't have that like failsafe. There is no check, because in Heroes, if you know you're a worst player, you can stand at the tower and you can just soak XP and you can get to team fights and hope your team carries you. And it's much more likely that you can get lucky and go on a streak and win your placements like that.
By playing
once you end up...
Did I lag or did Dunk lag?
I think Dunk lagged.
So he said by playing but it was Zagara is what he was saying.
I think
did I actually lag?
Yeah, you did lag.
Yeah,
You just said by playing but making sure they know Zagara is for plebs. Actually, Zagara is my like 4th most played hero, so...
Anyway, continue.
Anyway, so when a player ends up like at Master, they get Master from placements, they're actually about a Plat player. It's very slow for them to go down. It takes a long time for them to go down, and they run a lot of games while they are in Master. Now, performance-based matchmaking is going to add that feature that we're missing. It's going to say, well, sure, this guy won the game, but actually, he did 50% less healing than he should have. He got way less XP than he should have. He died a bunch. Like, this guy clearly doesn't belong here. And it's going to make him win less from his wins and lose more from his losses. And so we're going to much more quickly get people sorted to where they should be. And a lot of people are highlighting the going up. And I think that's what the community wants to hear is, oh, guys, it's so much easier to climb, you know, you guys are great players, you can get out of Halo Hell. But the real value of this system for high-level players, and honestly, even for anyone above Silver, is going to be the players that don't quite belong there, that somehow got lucky and got there, are going to go down.
Yeah. I mean... That's
the real value for me.
And it's crazy, too, because the state that we're in right now, like... I've always been like around Platinum Diamond, right? And that's the range. And I don't play a ton of Hero League, but still that's the range where I still see people. I almost try to always play support, and I'm always the most critical of the support role because that's the role that I like the most myself in the game. And I constantly have supports, if I'm not playing support, that just cannot cleanse, or they don't pick cleanse against like anything, and it drives me insane being in that situation. And that's going to be one of those variables that's actually tracked in the system, where actually knowing that this player is properly cleansing and having an impact, or landing their CC, or saving people, or whatever. In the game, we know the game already tracks like close calls, being able to save people from close calls, you know, making those big ancestral plays or whatever. Those are all going to be rewarded things. The players that cannot actually, you know, perform in that way on those healers or any hero really, you know, the website references Kerrigan and her CC, as you can see on the screen now, as being a meaningful stat, not just damage. That's, if you don't know how to do a Kerrigan combo, it's gonna know. It's gonna be like, look, man, this isn't good for you. Like, you lost, and you're part of that reason. So it's all gonna know. But in the current system, like, people are going from gold to diamond in one season just from placements, right? Do they belong in gold? Do they belong in diamond? The current system can't even tell you. It doesn't know. It really doesn't know. It's like, well, you won your games. And it's like, well, but how much of that was actually contributed by that person? And this is going to be a lot more individual. So this is so good for the game. It really is. It's going to take time. It's going to take a little bit of time, I bet, to actually really normalize.
I'm kind of on the other side of the fence.
Oh,
I actually don't think this will be a meaningful change for the player base. So I will agree that in the case of someone who got outlandishly lucky in their placement games, where your potential MMR changes dramatically higher and rank changes dramatically higher than during most games during the season, I think people are expecting this to kind of be a silver bullet for matchmaking, but the reality is players are so high variance in any individual game that I don't think this system is going to solve people's complaints about people being bad in their game or people not knowing what's going on. And I don't think it's going to hurt the game in any way, but this isn't suddenly going to make like all of your matches miracle even games where everyone's playing close. I think the reality is the variance between players' skills on different heroes, on different maps, in different roles is so high that even this system essentially won't fundamentally make the games closer, because the reason the games are so one-sided a lot of the time right now is because that inherent variance in players' skill.
Yeah, so I'm definitely with you. I think when people talk about matchmaking issues, they're most commonly talking about MMR issues. If there is actually an issue, but even more common, I think it's not actually an issue. It is just, this is how MOBAs work. You get matched with 5 teammates. They're not guaranteed to be playing their role. You could end up with 3 support mains in the same team. You could end up with 5 assassins. Like, someone's performance on a Valor compared to the performance next game on Mjordan, who they only have level 5 because they need a tank for Hero League. Like, there's so much that can go wrong. And I believe League of Legends is the only game that's actually solved their matchmaking and gotten it to a real decent level by queuing specifically for lanes. And even they have issues with that amount of player base, that amount of preparation, and that amount of like machine learning that goes into the matchmaking. They still have issues. Yep. It's never going to be in a good state. It's never going to be in a state where everyone is happy with it. They're always, Blizzard are going to keep working, and they're going to keep working. It's going to get better and better. More issues are solved. But in reality, like, when people complain about matchmaking, they're not always justified complaints, and they're not always fixable. I think the example for me is if you look at Dota, if you look at Smite, if you look at Overwatch, like, all of these games have the same issue as Heroes, where the matchmaker does not make fair games. Like, Smite's matchmaking is way worse than Heroes, by the way, guys. If you ever speak to a Smite player and ask them what do you think of matchmaking, they will be violent, honestly. It's a big issue over there.
It's really bad. I follow a guy named DM Brandon who's like a caster for the game, and like, it's a lot worse than Heroes. A lot worse. But yeah, no, I think it'll be interesting. I mean, I honestly, Dunk, I hadn't even thought of your side of the story at all. And time will tell, but I'm personally optimistic about it, like, just in general. Go ahead.
Here's my worry. Here's my worry. If you want to climb rank, the actual best thing to do is to limit your play to the smallest possible number of heroes and roles, because you will get better at those faster and you will climb. That's just how it works. If you one trick, you will climb. And I'm worried that this system is going to even further incentivize one tricking, which leads to a less healthy gameplay experience, I think, for everyone. If everyone feels incentivized, it doesn't even have to be true. It doesn't even have to be true that the new system actually incentivizes one tricking. It has to feel to the player base like it incentivizes people to only play one hero. And if that's the case, it's going to lead to a worse game experience for everyone involved, because when you get into Hero League, you're going to feel worse when you don't get your one trick. You're going to feel worse when your team doesn't have a good composition because of these, and that's what I'm worried about.
So Jeff Kaplan, game director of Overwatch, is a very smart guy, in my opinion, and he speaks to the community a lot. He types a lot. He's obviously a very well-read developer, and one of the posts that he wrote possibly over a year ago now that has always resonated with me is that, like, what the actual objective facts of this situation are do not matter, because the player perception is so strong that it completely overrides that and is still ruining people's experience because of that. And yeah, like what you just said, Dunk, is in the exact same vein. Like, if people think one tricking is going to be an issue, even if objectively you would climb faster by playing a good selection of heroes, it's still going to become an issue where there are people one tricking, and there are people that were good enough to climb normally, but they got there through one tricking, who are going to create an unhealthy game experience.
Anyway, yeah, that's my 2 cents.
It's interesting. I mean, it makes sense that that would probably be the point of view and the intent of many players. So rather than play the hero that makes the most sense, is, well, we might need a Murden right now because we desperately need that Stormbolt to deal with Mosh Pit, but my best warrior is Johanna. And Johanna might be fine there or whatever. You know, that's not a bad example, actually. But
that's an atrocious
I mean, that's not a good
example.
example. Yeah, that's a terrible example. After thinking about it, I'm going to play Diva. How's that? To deal with the mosh pit. Like, that's not going to be the best main tank for your team, right? You might be thinking you're playing tank, but Diva's your main. You want to rock a lot of Diva. It's not going to really work out for your team in that moment. Maybe that ends up being a thing. We just got to hope that's not the case, right? Because at the end of the day, you still got to win, right? Like,
Here are the facts that make one tricking less attractive than it would initially seem. You're not measuring against yourself. You're not measuring against other people all the time. You're also measuring against yourself. You're also measuring against like that situation. So if you are a one trick and you pick that hero in a bad situation, and you don't do as much damage as you should because that's your one trick, and you don't do as much siege as you should because it, again, like other people had the siege like down, then you're still not going to gain as much like rating as you should for how good you were at the hero. So draft matters a lot in this new performance-based system.
Do you think? So that's one thing I think the player base currently has almost no understanding of, is how to draft appropriately. Do you think the new system is going to improve that whatsoever?
So next year, Sam Braithwaite, the franchise lead for Heroes of the Storm, StarCraft 2, and StarCraft Remastered, he's mainly focused on Heroes of the Storm, or at least he has been for the past year or two. He said one of his major goals, he's got 3 major goals. He wants to make the HCC players like superstars. He wants to have much more emphasis on the players. And his second goal, which is the important one, is he really wants education and people tuning into HCC to learn more, and like that to be a huge factor of the league and like be the big reason why people tune in. And to that end, there's going to be guides on the website. There's going to be more content opportunities with the players, and all of that's going to combine together to basically create, here's a guide for a hero. Here's the build you should use for the hero. Here's when you should draft the hero. Here's how you play the map. And stuff like that, and really leveling up that aspect. So currently, I feel like this is a major issue. Like, Hero League does not understand how to draft. That's a blanket statement. You can apply it from bronze to grandmaster, and it's true. Most of the time.
Yeah.
I think if Blizzard put a lot of effort into leveling up their website in terms of education and leveling up HCC in terms of education, then I think that's something that's achievable. And that's a direction that we know they want to go. So I'm personally really looking forward to that.
Can we go into this topic right here, the education segment, and how to attain that of educating the masses of the player base to know better and learn from HGC? I assume Blizzard knows. I've been saying this for 3 years, but you need to have some kind of portal in the game that points to HGC and brings those players to the show so they can even know it exists. There is still almost no way within the client to identify stuff about the game. They've leveled up the crap out of the website. There's all these cool things. You can look at talents. You can get that whole breakdown of the website. Websites are websites. In-game power is so much more. And I don't know what kind of hurdles and obstacles it takes, but that's the solution, the end. I as a player, I do not want to go to an external website if I don't have to. It's 2017. I did that shit as a child. I'd run upstairs, find my dial-up router, beep, 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 boop, get logged in, and find out how I could make free Pokemon, duplicate my Pokemon rare candies and shit, level those bad boys up. I was happy to do that. Nowadays, everybody wants this stuff to be mega hyper accessible. And especially since much of the Heroes audience is hella casual, right? This is a game that is, again, it's the Smash Brothers of Blizzard. Fans of every single game, all these WoW nerds like myself that just want to be Thrall, play Heroes. But if they could get better by one click within the client via HGC intel, because they saw Fury use this cool build with that tank that they love so much, and they can copy his build by just looking at it in game or something, holy shit, the power is insane. Will we ever get that?
I think that's actually the one place the performance-based matchmaking system can help the most, is if it clearly indicates to players why they gained or lost extra MMR in the game. That's the thing that I hope the system does, is fill in that educational role. Because if the game tells you, you lost more MMR this game when you lost, and here's why, here's what you did wrong, instead of the placeholder fluff we have after games now that tells you, you got more takedowns, good job, or like the MPV screen that doesn't actually tell you anything about what you contributed to the game. If that system is replaced by people getting feedback saying, here's how your MMR changed and here's why, that I think is possibly the most impactful aspect of the new system. It could actually help the player base.
It doesn't actually say that we're getting that, though, does it?
It does not explicitly say that we're getting that. And that's one thing I'm worried about.
And, you know, someone in chat saying the casual players don't even follow or care about HGC. I highly doubt they're interested in getting better. I disagree. I think there are plenty of people that could care less about watching a sport, right? There's tons of people that don't want to watch HGC just because that's not why they're logging into Heroes. They're not logging into Heroes to be a fan of the esport, but they are logging into the game, and everyone likes to win. So if there's an easy access thing from like an HGC page in the game that can give them information as to what the norms are for the pro players and their builds on different heroes, I think that why wouldn't you utilize that? You don't have to be a fan. Will that turn everyone into an HGC fan? No. Will it turn some people into fans? Absolutely. They'd be like, huh, that's a weird build. I want to see that in action. They check out the VOD. Bam, they're hooked. Or maybe they're not. I don't know. But I think by creating that option is what's so important there. But what Dunk was saying is just kind of like bringing it back to your point about bringing that info of like why you might have lost. I think back to StarCraft. Being able to check my build and compare my build and see my resources, like, you know, time spent where I was supply capped. It tells you all these things that you messed up. That's how I got better at the game. It's like, okay, I need to work on this. I need to work on this.
Okay, Jake, in the Twitch chat, I just posted a link. This is a huge feature that is super exciting, and it's not been very well promoted as of yet. And this is something that's going to be expanding next year, hopefully, as well for the HCC. Have you seen this, Jake?
I have, and I think it's amazing. I really do.
Can we get up on the stream and take people through it?
So basically, this is the match breakdown. For the longest time in the HCC website,
Spoilers!
When it first released, you couldn't even click on a team like this, right? They've done so much work on the website, and I think the web and mobile team at Blizzard deserve a lot of credit. You can click on MVP Black, you can see all the stats about them, you can see all the players. That's cool. That's not what we're even here to look at. That's a good resource. We're here to look at just the full breakdown. You got VODs, you can go into whichever game you want. Nice, easy access, plays the VOD immediately. But then you can see the breakdown. These are the drafts. You can even choose to watch a game based on a hero that you play. Look for that icon of the hero that you want to see played, find it there. Decided what you want to look at. Game 2 is the game I'm interested in. Click on that bad boy, and you have these full breakdowns of exactly what went on in that game. We're talking overall team stats here with KD average, and of course the builds. And that's really what Bakery wants to drive the point to. But I mean, this is amazing. We'll come back to this. But what I'm saying is this needs to be in the game. This can't. The website needs to at least point to the game needs to at least point to this website in like a permanent menu button. It just has to be a super powerful portal that is in your face and obvious to the most casual, newest player in the game. This is something they have to actively look for, and I bet you we have a large number of viewers that are already passionate about the esport that don't even know they can look at this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This is something that needs to be pushed way more. Even if you click the individual stats below all these talents, Jake, there's the little in-game stats page, basically. This drop down here.
Oh, I never clicked on that. That's cool. See, I didn't even know this existed myself. Like,
so you can look at all the stats, like tanking down and stuff like this. Like, these features are now available on the website. Potentially being passed on replays is the most likely thing. So we are using an API, I believe, for this data.
An internal API. There is no public API available still for Heroes of the Storm, but if there's an internal API, correct, which is being perceived as, because if somebody's manually gathering this information, you're a madman.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's really good news, actually, to hear that there is you know, all this info. People are just saying, just join. Where can I see this live? It's on the HCC website, and that's kind of why.
If you go to the HCC website, you go to schedule, you find any series you want, be it from BlizzCon or even playoffs, and you can click on that series and you can come to this hub page, which has all of this information, all of the VODs, and all of the stats and builds. And this is the thing that I really want to level up moving into 2018. And I think this, if we can get regular players interested in the information on this page, this is how they are going to improve, and this is how we're going to get more people watching HCC. And I'm really excited about this potential. A lot of people are saying, like,
I think it's huge.
This is Master League 2.0. And yes, it is. It's Master League. It's right here on the official website with links to people's stats pages, with potentially in the future links to their social media, links to their build guides. Like, if you click on that Uther, does it go to Swoy's Uther guide? Like, this would be so valuable for the game. It doesn't yet, Jake. But one day, maybe.
But that's the coolest part, though, right? And, like, you know, honestly, the future potential, like your messaging, not even just being able to click on Swoy and go to that, to be able to follow your favorite player. Say that you just really like King Caffeine's playstyle and you want to imitate that around every corner. Literally have it so that I can follow him. And, like, when I go and, like, maybe I have a favorites list or something, I can see, like, all his recent games, like every single hero he's played in this week's games, because I only actually care about King Caffeine, right? That's my hero that I want to, or my player I want to imitate, right? Yeah, same. But amazing resource, unbelievably good resource. Guaranteed that's like a shit ton of effort for them to go out and build that. YouTube, please do not demonetize my video for saying that word. And
oh no.
God, I was being so good. And you know, I honestly think that, like, this is the key to fixing people knowing how to draft and not only draft, but pick their talents, everything, because you still see a lot of weird stuff. Is every single player going to adhere to the norms? No, you're always going to have your
and they don't have to.
Yeah, there's always going to be Glogans, right?
They just have to have the option to.
Yeah.
Because right now they don't.
I mean, KCK makes a pretty interesting point, going even further about this, and saying basically that part of the performance-based MMR, how many stuns and non-impactful stuns am I going to hit? So playing at high level, you have to hold. I scrolled up. You have to hold Stormbolt, right? What do you mean have to hold?
Again, that's not necessarily true, because the system was built from looking at high-level Mirrodin players and what stats were making them effective. So a Mirrodin that zones more and doesn't take Perfect Storm would, in theory, hit less Stormbolts than a worse player who was just trying to, like, thinking, gets as much stuns as possible. That's what I need to do. So again, like, stun time might not be the differentiating factor between a good Mirrodin and a bad Mirrodin. Instead, it might be how much they heal from their W, or something like that.
Yeah, we don't know the exact intels. They use the Kerrigan example for successfully landing stuns. Is it going to count against you for missing your stuns? I don't know. It may just count for how many successful times you've done it. There's definitely a lot of meaningful variables, and you know, they've spent a lot of time thinking and fine-tuning this, because they know that half-assing it is not going to be an impactful thing. They're not going to release a half-ass system. We don't know for sure how it's going to end up working out, right? Only time can tell what impact this has on the league. And I'm going to be super curious. Honestly, we'll probably put out a survey maybe 2 or 3 weeks from now, or maybe even a little bit longer than that, depending on how they end up rolling this out. Just kind of asking where people's standings have gone in the league, right? Because it's always going to be super interesting to get a big masses intel of, I'm Diamond and now I'm Masters, or I was Masters and now I'm in Plat 1. Like, I'm sure it's going to be all over the place, because that's the goal of this system. But we'll see. We'll see. Dunk, any other things you want to talk about regarding this kind of stuff? Or Bakery?
don't think so. I think we hit a lot of the important points.
Yeah.
Yeah. So wrapping up matchmaking, you should be a lot less concerned about people gaming the system, just because the way it was built is a very effective counter to that. You should be very excited for the system because it's going to do a lot to help sort people into where they should be much quicker and implement that check that takes people down when they get placed too high, or takes people up when they get placed too low. But at the same time, this isn't the silver bullet. This isn't going to fix every issue. It's not going to do anything to help that random game you get one every 20 games where you have platinums and diamonds and grandmasters in your game. But I think it's going to do a lot of good.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. I'm pumped for sure, and I'm curious to see if Dunk's concerns are totally right. I mean, maybe some players become super notorious for literally only playing the same hero, even though those players already exist, in my opinion. So does it actually change that at the end of the day? Like, I don't know.
Also, wait, one second. This entire time, I meant to say this earlier, we've been calling it performance-based matchmaking, and that's what Blizzard has been calling it. Matchmaking is the buzzword that everyone instantly recognizes as, oh, it's going to change matchmaking. That's the issue. I'm glad they're working on it. This doesn't touch matchmaking at all. The matchmaking system is exactly the same. It changes the matchmaking rating, the MMR, the ELO of players.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it still ties together though. So, but yeah, you're right. You're right, Bakery.
So Q times that stuff, not affected.
No. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'm glad you brought up the website, and I'm glad we get to look at that. I still, pray to the Blizzard gods that someday they stick an HGC tab right here. You see Blizzard? I'm just gonna give you the full look. See, you see, this is what your client looks like, and if you just go up to the top, you put a little line right there. Then 3 letters, they're H, G, and C.
Or esports.
Or esports, whichever. Give us a little click. Even if that little click brings me to the website, prompt the user to say launch in browser. I don't know if the tech can do that, but you know what? It would be dope. And I think it would be great for the game because that seems like a fairly doable fix in my... It's 2017, boys. Linking to websites should be a thing you can do in a video game, I hope. But I just think that would make the biggest difference for 2018. I think that is, of all things they could do to educate players and promote the league, that is the best thing they could do. But I'm going to stop ranting about that because I do that too often. So the final topic of tonight is just a little thing called upcoming stuff. And this is just kind of talking about like, what's next, right? Because we already hinted at some of these. So we were gonna try to get Michael Udall on tonight. Unfortunately, it looks like he is too busy, so we're gonna have to find a time to get him on again. We already announced this early in the show, but next week's episode we should have Temple Storm's coach and analyst Kala joining us, as well as Collusion from Team Freedom to talk more on the state of NA. I really wanted to get an episode that focused on the HGC NA roster, since the HGC NA team should be finalized by then. We'll go a lot more in depth on that, since we've really had a lot more European intel, having Bakery here being, so ingrained in that scene to give us that knowledge. After that, we're already looking to bring hosts on again regularly. Lauber, we were talking to him in chat today. We're going to find a time to get him on. Right, he's new blood joining the HGC, the European region, and I think that's going to be just really fun to just get in there and talk about it, because he was saying he wanted to talk about in the chat. He was saying, please talk about the changes to Merc camps being at 1 minute and then objectives being at 3 minutes. And I think what the curse
we've got a lot of time.
10 minutes, right?
Yeah, we've got a lot of time to talk these changes, guys. It's on PTR for at least 2 more weeks.
Yeah.
So this is definitely something we're going to bring on guests. We're going to get different perspectives, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see how different people perceive these changes, because there were actually some players on Twitter saying, oh my god, I hate them, and there were others saying, this is my favorite change ever. So
Yeah, like Caterpillar, for example, hates the camera change, right? He's like, one of the things that drew me to Heroes of the Storm was the closer camera, and this feels like League. I mean, that's his POV. He's literally the only person I've heard say that, but still having all those different perspectives on everything to discuss the pros and cons of things is where we're going to go with this. Because honestly, the 2018 gameplay update to Heroes of the Storm is the biggest shift we've seen in 2+ years to the game at least. And it's gonna be a lot of repetitive conversations almost, but just getting different opinions and hearing different sides, especially because those opinions are going to be evolving as all of these teams are scrimming on the PTR, getting a feel for these changes, and not only just now starting to actually have an opinion. If we had somebody on today, they probably would have been like, I don't know. But next week, I bet you we'll have people that really have a strong opinion one way or another, and it'll be really good content and really good intel for us too, just to be able to see if we actually agree or not based on our personal experiences. But I mean, I don't think Dunk Baker and I plan on grinding the PTR super hard ourselves, just because matchmaking is always weird, and yeah. I mean, I just want loot boxes that matter. PTR loot boxes don't matter. They won't even let me open them. This is how fraudulent the PTR is. Feels bad.
Unlucky.
Unlucky. Another announcement in our upcoming stuff segment. Remember how we did this tournament called Bloodlust this summer, and we had some backer rewards where there's a few things we got to do. Well, one of them, there will be a town holiday. Yes, that was one of the backer rewards, and that will be right around Christmas, New Year's time. That's a drinking episode that has absolutely zero substance at the end of the day. It's just for fun. It's to celebrate the show and celebrate the holidays. Last year I fell down the stairs and I hurt my back really bad. That's pretty much what I remember from the show. So that's pretty much what you can expect to get out of that. That's going to be happening for sure. And we do have our DM confirmed for our Dungeon and Dragons show as well. And if you're saying, what do you mean Dungeons and Dragons show? Well, Roll21 Bloodlust. And what we set as our $10,000 goal was a one-off D&D session, because I've never played D&D in my life. We're all, nerds at the end of the day, right? Just live in that atmosphere. And we're going to be doing a one-off show. The thing is, though, it's like, I've never played. And I definitely don't want to DM. Dunk was like, man, I don't want to DM. So we got Alex Neyman from the Heroes of the Storm team. Actually, he's on the dev team for Heroes. He's going to be our DM for the show. And we don't have an exact date for you yet. It's going to be in the middle of December. And I believe it'll be us plus Alex and Zoya and March as the panel for that. So that's going to be probably a one-off thing, but we will have an actual date locked in and announced for you guys soon, because that's going to be again another kind of weird bit of content. And I guess lastly, while I'm in this upcoming stuff segment, your feedback's heard, guys. We're evolving the show. I'm actually working on some other more, I guess, refined segments for things like HGC coverage for 2018, where we're going to be able to provide more bite-sized consumable content for people that just want to watch a shorter type thing, but we're still going to provide the same format 2-hour show podcast. We're working on evolving things. Your feedback is invaluable, as rude as some of it might be. I mean, it's still heard, right? And to all you guys that watch our show and say nice things and support us, thank you so much, because that's why we do this. It's definitely been a crazy 3 years, and we just want to keep evolving. At least I do.
So while we were at BlizzCon, me and Jake actually sat down behind the BlizzCon stage for, I think, maybe 2 hours brainstorming, how do we level up this? How do we keep this stuff relevant? How do we make cool segments for the show? How do we expand our audience? So there's a lot of work that we've got to do, and most of it's going to start coming in around the time HGC starts in January. But there's a lot of stuff that you guys have to look forward to, for sure.
If I can figure out the tech behind some of the things I'm working on, because I've actually been putting in probably 4 hours a week just on, it's not a lot of time, but it's enough time because it's like all just side work preparing for the evolution of Town Hall. It's going to be Sports Center like type quality in a way. It's still going to be a 2-hour podcast, so it's going to be a very different thing. But some of the stuff that I have, if it works out, is going to be really cool because I'm a production nerd. I really like doing this kind of stuff. Dude, Hyper Mike, the one man that can use that Town Hall emo. I can't even use it. It's locked for me. What a god. It's a $10 sub. That's why.
Nice.
I'd have to log into the Arcanade account, and I'm not doing that right now. But yeah, I don't think there's anything else to discuss for the upcoming stuff. What's upcoming for Bakery and Dunk? We don't know. Dunk's going to keep streaming. Bakery's going to keep being mysterious. Following those...
Can we... there's one thing I want to talk about before we end the show. Just keep in mind.
Go ahead. Let's go.
Okay, so there was a hot fix where they made a bunch of changes, mostly bug changes. But there was one thing that I thought was actually really interesting. If you look at the hotfix notes, there was a bug where you could right-click on enemy players' profiles.
Oh, that's gone?
In Hero League. And that's currently gone. That was fixed. I wanted to hear your guys' take on them removing that, because me, personally, I actually really liked that feature. I felt that actually was probably good for the game. It added a little more interesting strategy to the draft phase, in my opinion, because it let you actually get information on your opponents, and especially for players below the Grandmaster level, you're essentially banning heroes out of a pool, and you have no information on your opponents. Players don't even know how to draft properly, so it's, for the vast majority of players, they don't know what a good ban is in the first place, so they can't even look at players' profiles anymore. And I wanted to catch your guys' opinions, because I liked being able to do that.
I'm going to hop on this, and I normally don't, because I just played a lot of Hero League, like I said, going into the season, and that was actually, I could still view profiles, and I really like that. There is the point of view that you get the additional intel on that player, right, that you just mentioned. You can still go to masterleague.net or hotslogs or whatever, you know, if that player has uploaded their stuff, and still see what they play. There's still ways to get intel on those players if you truly want to. My opinion on this, on the whole matter is, though, the more accessibility you have to looking at someone's profile and talking to them in a chat channel and chatting in game, is the more the game feels like it has a community. The more the community feels like it's alive. The more doors you put up, you know, by looking at profiles or being able to talk with in game, which again, in Overwatch, you can talk to your opponents. I wish we could talk to our opponents. I still do. Maybe not in quick match, but in ranked play, I really do, because you always have the option of muting someone, right? If they're
and opt-in all chat for ranked play only. I think something I'm in support of.
I hate doors. I hate being told that no, you're not allowed to talk to them. Let the user choose if they want to be allowed to talk to their enemy team, right? You can just say, I only want allied chat. I don't want all chat. I want allied chat, right? But I just think doors or walls or barricades or whatever the hell you want to call it only make your game feel less alive in terms of a community, right? And I think the lack of being able to look at a profile is just another door shut in my face.
Okay, so my take on it, my initial reaction is that I don't like it. I think it adds a burden of... It adds the burden that your crown player should be checking like the profiles of the enemy team and like working out, guys, what's the optimal ban here? I don't like putting that much extra responsibility on just one player. Maybe if we had a different ban format where maybe like the top 2 like picks on your team bans like once first phase, once second phase, something like that. Like, I don't know how to do it, but I don't like putting that much responsibility on just one player. If they're like the enemy team's captain is like super zoned in, he's like checking everyone's profile, working out like their like kills and their win rate and stuff with like that, then like he's gonna ban it out. And if your team captain's sat there streaming or something, for example, just reading chat, or maybe he's chilling on TeamSpeak with his friends, or Maybe he's playing Hearthstone in queue. You know, there's so many things that can happen that I do think gives an unfair advantage to the player that does go out of his way to check that. At the same time, I do feel it's a bit unfair to newer players who haven't played that many heroes and do get their favorites banned out. I think it's a bit unfair to OneFix.
Are newer players playing draft modes, though?
So when I say newer players, I mean they started playing within the last 8 months, let's say. And they're new to the game, and they're working their way, and they're climbing. I think it's unfair that they are only going to have, let's say, 5 heroes that they're truly proficient on. And someone can look at their profile, see which ones they're best at, and which ones still work, and ban those out. I think that's unfair. Again, maybe my terming's off. I'm calling that a newer player, but someone that's been playing for 3 years and has a hero pool of 20 heroes is not going to be nearly as hardly affected.
Right.
So you... Okay, you were going to say something about one tricks too?
I mean, I'm a Rhaegar one trick, and people ban my
It's
Rhaegar.
very unfair to one tricks, which is the only aspect I'm actually fine with.
Oh, okay.
I mean...
I thought you were going to say it's unfair to one tricks and that was bad.
Yeah, so I wanted to get that out there because I thought that's what people would feel like my view was.
So
I'm fine with it being unfair to one fix, but
I honestly think
put me against it.
When your team is in chat, this already happens. People will say so and so player only plays Kerrigan. I'll use Glogan again. Glogan only plays Gazlo, right? There was a time where everyone would be like, he's just gonna pick Gazlo. Ban Gazlo against Glogan, right? That's like almost like, you don't have to view the profile. People at every stage of the game, if they grind, if they're sincerely like a gold player that grinds and grinds and grinds because they want to hit platinum, you learn things about people in your games. You're having the same game session as another person. You guys are both grinding for 4 hours that day or whatever, and you happen to queue into that same guy because the game ended at the same time 3 games in a row. Well, he picked Kerrigan 3 of those games. You're going to learn that. And you're going to go into your next game with your team and be like, oh, we're against Billy 220. We better ban out Kerrigan because Billy's Kerrigan is beastly, guys. And to me, again, that feels like community. Cool, this guy knows this guy. We may not be pro gamers, but suddenly we have something that brings us together. We're playing the same game. We're about the same skill level. We have this in common. This guy's a good Kerrigan. Cool. We're friends. I want to be able to talk. I want to be able to interact with that person. I want to view his profile, add him as a friend. Like, that's what I'm saying. And I think the view profile thing is, again, a big part of that. Guys, I'm trying to imitate Zoya for you today.
So I've been watching chat this whole time. Dunk gave his opinion. People said, damn, Dunk stay on. I love that feature. I give my opinion. I feel like people were saying, yeah, I agree with Bakery. Bakery's making great points. And then Jake just says his opinion. And, there's yes, agreed. Like, yeah, Jake, like, great job, mate. So, honestly, a lot of conflicting views, I would say, from the community.
I don't think there's an easy answer. And there's even a lot of people who want to go even further towards anonymity where you can't even see your opponent's names in draft.
Fuck that.
Like, I hate that idea personally, but
I just dropped the F-bomb. Demonetize. Raise the alarms.
I can understand where that comes from, though, because
I'm personally fine if they went that route. I think it's tough. There's no correct answer.
Yeah. I don't know. I liked the more information personally, but I don't think there are upsides and downsides to everything, of course.
Press F to pay respects for our $10 of YouTube revenue, guys.
So I guess that concludes the show. Exciting upcoming stuff. We're working really hard on leveling up the production for TownHall Heroes, and what you guys will see a lot of that around January, late January, when HGC starts. So thanks for tuning in, everyone. We're hearing your feedback. We're working hard to improve. Jake, shouts?
I like it. Shout outs to Dunk's green screen that just couldn't keep going. It dematerialized and it's back to the mortal realm now. Shout out to you guys for being amazing co-hosts and just making this show a reality, because if it weren't for you, I wouldn't even bother trying to keep doing this show. But you guys make it a lot of fun each week. And oh, the green screen is it's like you're in the upside down right now. And shout outs to my waifu for being awesome. She's making food right now and I'm excited about that. And shout outs to everyone that's grinding Hero League, because this season has a dope map pool and it's really good stuff. I think that's... Oh, and I'm streaming again, so shout outs to my stream. You can check it out at twitch.tv/solidjakegg, and you can watch me try to make it to Master League.
So be sure to check out Jake's stream. He plays Destiny, Heroes of the Storm, and potentially some other stuff as well. Dunktrain, shout outs.
Shout outs to, I guess, everyone who's watching and following and supporting my content and Town Hall. And I just want to remind everyone, whether you are a U.S. citizen or not, in the U.S. there's Thanksgiving this week, which is a holiday that a lot of people just know for being everyone gets together and eats a lot of food. Haha, America. But as someone who has recently had family pass away, just everyone, take a moment this weekend to appreciate who you have in your life and say something nice to them.
That's a good message.
Dude, Bam Bam is literally asking for a shout out and you're going to deny him. Okay.
Okay, so thanks everyone for watching. Now I have one more thing to say. Net neutrality is a fantastic thing for the internet, and it benefits everyone except major corporations, I'm afraid. I am not a fan of political messages, but I do feel like this is something that does need to be said. So everyone, if you live in the US, please head over to www.battleforthenet, call your local congressman and let them know that you strongly are in support of net neutrality. Thanks for watching, everyone. Tune in next week for a show where we have guests. Finally, we have Kala and, of course, potentially Collusion. We appreciate all the support. We appreciate all the feedback, and we'll see you guys next week.
Happy Turkey Day!
Welcome here to TownHall Heroes.